Hi everyone, welcome back to Talk Regulatory to me, where we're your hosts. I'm Aksa.
And I'm Zora.
And this is a podcast to talk about all things regulatory. We're deep diving into the world of regulatory affairs and giving you an insight into what we do. So this episode is about Eid. So Eid Mubarak. So today we're going to be talking about what it is to be a Muslim in the workplace, especially with Eid, and how pharmaceuticals really integrate Eid, I guess, integrate our religion within pharmaceuticals and how we deal with things like requesting Eid off. So we'll kind of start talking about Ramadan. So what's your experience been, Zora, with Ramadan as a whole?
I think I've been quite lucky in the jobs that I've worked in and the managers that I've had, that they're understanding, and I think that's all you could ask for, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the pharmaceutical industry, just because that's what our experience is, they are quite open to being flexible.
Yeah.
So, depending on when in the year Ramadan is, working flexible hours, either starting early or finishing late, finishing early, whatever it is, taking time out to read namaz and everything. So that's the prayers that we do. They have been quite accommodating.
Yeah.
And I think I like to, in my mind, before Ramadan starts, I always think, okay, I'm going to wake up, a bit late, start work a bit later. But actually, it's easier for me to start work at the normal time. Start work at the normal time. And then this year, especially with Ramadan being before the clocks changed, it was the days that I was in the office.
So easy, weren't they?
No, but the days when I was at home, the days I was in the office, it was like, okay, need to finish by this time to get home in time to make food and, break my fast as well. But I get you're at home, so you might have found it a bit easier.
So I guess for you, it was a rush, right? Because as soon as you would get home, it's just quickly make food, read your prayers, etc. Whereas for me, I had a very nice experience. So I would roll out of bed,
jealous,
wake up whenever I wanted. I wouldn't get ready half the time because I'd be tired. Because obviously with Ramadan, we do a lot of night prayers, and so we are a lot more exhausted, I'd say, during the day. So it gave me that flexibility to kind of wake up whenever I wanted, start my meetings or schedule my meetings when I wanted to do that. And I've had the same experience as you, as Pharma has been so flexible. They've been so accommodating. They're like, we'll work around you rather than us working around them. So it's more so trying to really just like scheduling your meetings when you know that you're going to be
awake.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you're going to be awake even. So with this year as well, my manager gave me the opportunity. He was like, if you're not feeling it, just sign off early. Like, it's fine if you got your work done. So
that's nice.
I know. And in the past couple of jobs I've had, everyone's been quite like that. I think there's only one time where it was difficult because I was on site, and then it was hard to start later and finish earlier, or like wasn't that accommodating. Whereas since I've been in regulatory affairs, actually every job I've had in RA has been so accommodating, and it's been a really nice experience actually.
You're at home, so you don't get the questions. But when you were in the office, but when you were in the office, did you get the questions?
I did, a lot. It's like, you can't drink water. Like, no, you can't. They're so surprised, and it's like year after year after year. But have you noticed in recent years, people like they want to learn more about it, and they're more inquisitive in a nice way, like whereas before it was more arrogance, I would say, like when we were younger, especially even in say uni and school, is more arrogance, like, oh my god, you can't even drink water, like I wouldn't be able to do that. Whereas now it's
or wake up in the middle of the night to eat. Whereas
now it's very like, oh my god, that's amazing, and like it's something that we obviously look forward to every single year. We love it. So it's been an interesting development over the years.
I think that too. I think so. We always have a story kind of go out on our homepage. And so if somebody writes a nice story about what Ramadan means to them, and we always put in some background on what Ramadan is. So it's, for those of you who don't know, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, and it's where we fast for 30 days. And we do eat, but we just fast from sunrise to sunset. So this year, for example, I can't remember what time sunrise was. I think it was about 5 o'clock, and sunset was for me in London, it was like 5:30, I think it was.
Same here.
But in the summer, sun rises a lot earlier, so 2-3 in the morning, and then the sun sets half 9:30, I think, at one point.
I remember during summer, that period of time, I used to live in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And obviously it's higher up, so the timings are a lot different to down south. And so we were waking up for Fajr, which is our early morning prayer. So before that is Sahur or Seri, as we call it. And that's the period that you eat. So we would be up, I think, like 12-ish at midnight. Yeah, Fajr used to be at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then Maghrib, which is the prayer, the evening prayer, well,
the dawn prayer.
The dawn prayer. And that's...
No, not dawn, sorry.
Yeah. I know. Sunsets. Dusk. Yeah. And then as soon as that prayer starts, that's when we get to break our fast. That would be at like 10, half 10.
Oh, really?
So we would only have a period of like, say, 3 hours at most to eat.
Yeah.
That was the hardest.
That was hard.
Yeah.
The summertime ones are the hardest.
Yeah, and I think I was in school at that point? School or uni? I think it was school. The last couple of years of school. Or high school or uni, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was that point, and it was really, really difficult. But we used to stay up all night because I think we were definitely in a learning period of kind of education, because we would stay up like all night. I would be chatting to each other, or our friends, or like on MSN at the time, or whatever it was. So that was a really fun period. But if I was to do that now while I'm working,
it'd be really hard.
It'd be really, really difficult, because even now, with prayers, so Isha it's about 10 o'clock, just after 10 right now, and Fajr is, I don't know what it's
3.
Is it 3?
About, yeah.
I always get up at 4.
Okay, yes.
I've
3:10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then when I go to, so I'm like a early riser and a early sleeper. So when I put my daughter to sleep, I fall asleep. So I find it really hard staying up for
to stay again. Yeah. To stay
but I have to force myself to stay till 10 o'clock.
And in the jobs that you've done before, because obviously you're at home now, so you have that flexibility of, so there's 5 daily prayers as well that we need to do. So one that Aksa mentioned is at sunrise. We have one prayer called Fajr. The second one is kind of midday, which is Zohar. We've got a early evening prayer, which is called Asr. We've got Maghrib, which is sunset. And then we've got the last prayer of the day, which is Isha. So when you're working from home, I guess you can work around that, and you can pray when you don't have any meetings. You can kind of slot it in. But when you're in the office, or when you have been in the office, what's your experience been like praying?
It's been difficult, and a lot of the times you end up missing it. For me, especially because you don't have Vazo, or like, not that anybody says anything, but you feel awkward because there's nothing that's been put out for you, or any space that's accommodating for you, whereas, well, some companies do, right? So when I was at Teva, we used to have a prayer room.
We have a prayer room,
but I don't know why, I just used to be scared to use it, and I feel like maybe if people made it a bit more comfortable, or showcased it a little bit more, that this is available for you, I would have used it, because then I would just come home and then make up my prayers, which isn't great, but I don't know. How do you feel?
I use it now. So I think when I first started, I don't think we had one. But somebody she's now left, I think it was 2 girls that they kind of advocated for one. And since then we've had a meeting room turned into a prayer room. Where the building that we're in at the moment is undergoing some refurbishment. So the floor that the prayer room was on, that floor is under refurbishment. So they've managed to move it to another floor.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, it's obviously if people don't use it, then they don't see a need for it. But if somebody asks for it, and if there's at least one person that does ask for it, then they are, accommodating to it. And even in the refurbishment now, we've made a point that we want to keep one. And we use it. It's a bit tucked away so people can't see. So I think that's
a benefit though,
it's a benefit. And so it's kind of I wouldn't say encouraged me to use it more, but I do use it every day.
That's really good.
winter times you have to. So I mean, I only go to the office 2 days.
Yeah.
But I would have to pray 3 prayers at work.
Yeah.
So I'd have to pray Zohar, Asr, and Maghrib.
Yeah.
Because by the time I get home, it would be time for Isha.
Yeah.
In the summer times, I can kind of get away with not reading any, because I can make it home in time to read Zohar.
That's the best. Well, there's pros and cons to the summer ones,
you should read it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So I try to read that one at work, and I try to read it on time.
Yeah.
My friend Felina calls me the Imam, because when it's the prayer time is around like 1:03, 1:05 at the moment, and when it's 1:05 and I say to her, okay, I'm going downstairs to pray now, she'll call me the Imam. Yeah, she calls me the Imam because I like to read it bang on time.
No, but that's good. That's a good habit to have, and I think I need to be more on time when I read it. Even at home, sometimes you're like, oh, I've got time, because you're at home as well, so you do get a bit lazy. So sometimes it's like just probably about 4:30 or something. I'm like, oh my god, I've not read Zohar yet, and then I quickly go read. So there's pros and cons to obviously staying at home as well, because you become a bit lazy. But I think now I kind of made an intention to just put it in my calendar as soon as Zohar hits, and block off that time, so I've got like 15 minutes to go and read. So hopefully I'll stick to that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so this Eid is the Hajj Eid, right?
Yeah.
Eid-ul-Adha. So do you have any kind of experiences, or you haven't been to Hajj, right?
No, I've done Umrah,
alhamdulillah,
but not Hajj.
Yeah.
Inshallah, one day.
Inshallah. Well, we went to Umrah at the similar time, no?
A few
Same
weeks
month.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was so unintentional. That we didn't even know. I feel like that happens quite often, because remember in Paris, we bumped into each other.
We went to Paris,
yeah. But I loved it. I was a bit nervous because I had never been to Umrah or Hajj, right? So that was my first experience, and I had my daughter with me, and I think she was about 2.
She was quite young,
1.5, 2 or something at the time. And so I was really nervous to take her, but my experience was amazing. Like, even when you just see the Kaaba, you just break down and you don't realize how emotional you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you just burst into tears because you're just so overwhelmed with emotion. And I'd love to go back, and I'd really love to do Hajj, but I don't think I'd take Arwa with me, because you've seen it during Umrah. Was it Umrah a few months, or no, during Ramadan actually?
How it was so busy.
I was mobbed.
Like, your husband went during the Ramadan, didn't he?
And so he took a group over to do Umrah, and he loved it, but equally he was like, there was just too many people.
Yeah.
And then it kind of interferes with your ibadah a little bit, because you're so conscious about getting a space, or like not hitting into anyone. And if you've experienced Umrah, you'll know that's very common.
Yeah.
Not the best, but so he really enjoyed it. And I think if I was to do Hajj, I wouldn't take Arwa, because I just couldn't risk her getting any injuries or anything. But inshallah, one day.
Yeah. Okay, Aksa, I've got a question for you. Have you ever come across any obstacles or faced any obstacles being a Muslim in the workplace?
Good question. I think, so this is, I remember a funny story actually, or not really funny. So it was more so around being excluded. Okay. Or not having options available to us as Muslims. So it was it was only a few. I think it was me, this other guy who was Muslim. I think that was it. And I don't think there was anyone else. It was just me and him. Yeah. And it was like a fish and chips day or something like that. And they had bought, and obviously, and it was like a van or something of the sort.
Something that on site or something, yeah.
And that was fried in the same oil that was used for their baking, etc. Right? And there was no alternatives for Muslims. So everyone else is sat there eating their fish and chips, and me and this other guy are just like...
just sat there.
And I thought, at the time, we thought it was quite bad, because we were like, okay, you've accommodated... If it was somebody that was vegan, they'd be accommodated for. But because we were Muslim, it's just like... oh, we didn't think about you. So that's something...
That's sad.
Yeah, I know. And I remember the guy had raised a HR complaint, and he got penalised for it.
Oh, really?
We started to get pushback from internal management, and I thought that was really bad. And that was... yeah. And it's scary though, because you're like, can I report this? Should I not report this? Because a lot of the times we go quiet and we don't say anything, because we're like, we don't want to cause problems. We're already a minority. We already don't have opportunities. If we start talking about these little things, will we get fired or whatever it is? So through that experience, I was like, okay, maybe we can't speak up. but it made me want to speak up more because
you should.
Exactly, because why were we not accommodated for?
Yeah.
It just
But
wasn't
even if
fair.
it wasn't, you know, okay, yeah, we do eat fish. But even if it was something meat.
Yeah.
They should still have vegetarian options.
Exactly.
That's the thing, you know, a lot of places that you go to, okay, you can't cater for, you can't cater for everyone. You can't have halal meat, especially when there's a few, there's only like 2 of you.
Yeah.
It might be an additional cost or something, even though we shouldn't. But we understand that.
Another place I've worked at, I remember it was like a pizza party, right? And they made sure to have vegetarian. Yeah. Obviously, I think it was Domino's, right? And obviously we can't eat the meat from Domino's, so vegetarian was fine for me. I think I was the only Muslim, I'll be honest, in that company. But still, vegetarian was completely fine because I eat vegetarian. It was vegan, and then there was gluten free as well. So everyone was accommodated for, and nice. that was nice. That was inclusive. And I think with moving towards inclusion and diversity, as both of us are such big advocates for that. At that point, I was like, I'm so annoyed.
Because I mean, inclusion isn't just race or, you know, gender, abilities and stuff like that. Yeah, they're all really important. But when you want to be inclusive, you need to be inclusive for everything. Exactly. And things like diet, if you're holding like an event or something, you need to make sure you're being inclusive and catering for everyone. Yeah. You know, if somebody knows of somebody in the team who is nut free or dairy free, you know, or what any of those things, even if it's just one person, you want to accommodate for them. Exactly. We've had people in the past in our team that only one person is gluten-free. And if we were ordering pizza, we'd make sure to order a gluten-free pizza. Exactly. And then we have another girl in our team who is allergic to nuts. So we make sure, it's sometimes a bit hard, but we still make sure that we have something for her to eat. Exactly. If we bring in any treats or anything, we'll always just say to her, you know, please just check the box to make sure you can, or this is an alternative. That's on your head, right? Whereas it wasn't considered for us. We were just like, oh, there's no alternative. Yeah, deal with it. And I thought that was quite unprofessional. Did they not apologise? No. Okay, that's I mean, there's taking accountability, and then there's just being ignorant. Yeah, that's the word I was thinking of, which is a shame. I know, but I think so many companies are moving towards being inclusive and having these diversity champions. Yeah. And it's one of the things that they need to think about, because that's what attracts people to the job as well, I guess. Exactly. And you want people to accept you as you, right? So you shouldn't need to change for a company to accept you, really. And your diet requirements shouldn't impact you doing the job. No, it does. It doesn't. Exactly. No. So I think that was probably one of the first times that I faced like partial, or what's the word? I'm trying to think. Not partial discrimination, but is that the right word? Yeah, okay. Maybe. I think growing up in Scotland, I never faced any racial discrimination, and I didn't really realise that I was different. But when I moved down south, I started getting the discrimination. I started getting racial abuse, and it was completely out of norm for me, and I found that really difficult to deal with, because when you're not racially abused and then all of a sudden you move to another place which is new for you, and you're trying to adapt to that place, etc., and then you start to get all these kind of mini discrimination things, like microaggression, that's it, thrown at you, and you're trying to navigate yourself, but then equally you're trying not to be a problem for the company, and you're worried that you're going to have implications, which shouldn't be the case. Like, you should be able to speak up, but I'm rambling on now, so that's okay. I think I've heard some similar experiences, you know, if you're just looking at people and their experiences online, where, you know, we don't drink, or Muslims don't drink alcohol. So when in some kind of industries, let's say, and depending on where your office is located, there's a big culture of going out to drink, or going out to the pub after work. I mean, for pharmaceutical companies which are not probably based in like the center of in a city or the center of London or something, I don't think that's an issue. But if you're thinking about other industries, more like banking, I would say, I don't know why, you know, Canary Wharf vibes come into my mind. But for those kind of people, there's people who don't attend these events, and it's seen as a con, or it looks like they're not participating in a group activity. It's not a group activity. It's going out to drinks with work colleagues. And nobody should be made to feel like they are not part of the team because they don't participate in a social event where it's not mandatory for them to attend.
But it's seen as
it's
like an unwritten rule that if you don't go, then you're not going to get the promotion, or you're not
something like that, because you're not seen to be social. But if you're being inclusive, you know, some Muslims wouldn't mind going to like a bar and having a soft drink or something, but some of them wouldn't go to it. And if you know somebody in your team doesn't drink alcohol and would not like to be in that environment, then you should be accommodating for that.
I don't think I've ever been to one of these events, I'll be honest. I don't feel comfortable going to a bar. It's not for me. Like, I just, putting religion to aside even, I just don't find it comfortable. So,
but not everybody is social as well. That's the thing. Not everybody wants to hang out with their work colleagues.
Exactly. You just want to go home after work, right? And just chill with your family. But I've had some instances where they're like, oh, we're going to the pub, you want to join? And I'm like, why can't we go somewhere? Why can't we go for food or whatever it is? But I have also had some instances where everyone's being like, okay, what does everyone want to do? Rather than going to the pub. And we've gone out for a meal or done something like that, and it's been so nice because everyone's included. And you feel more included and you feel happier to be in that environment. Whereas if you're sat in a pub, you'd probably just be sitting there worrying someone's going to spike your drink.
So we know this video was not really about regulatory, but we thought it was something that's quite important to highlight. And we'd love to know what you guys think, or if you've had any kind of similar experiences being a minority, or where you felt like you've been singled out and how you've handled that. And if there's anything else that you want us to talk about in the future, just drop us a message. So you can find us both on LinkedIn actually, and we can probably put our names and our profiles into the description. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, and also follow us on TikTok at Talk Regulatory to Me. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.